Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about Femara versus Clomid. Very popular infertility drugs, generally the first round of defense used for people who are struggling like I am. I cannot even tell you how excited I was to even get to this point because everything we've done in the past has been important. The HSG was important, the biopsies were important. The Femara round, was important because it got me to this point, but none of those things were going to get me pregnant. Femara or Clomid, hopefully, will get me pregnant. So we went in for what was like a consultation, basically, the Thursday after the HSG, and I could not sleep before this appointment just because there's so much that we've done to get to this point, and finally being here, I was both incredibly excited, which I still am, but also really nervous because there's something about like if this doesn't work, then it gets so much more expensive and intense, and my anxiety brain doesn't stop. So that was the next step for my anxiety brain to go to. So we go to our appointment, and the doctors and I had already once talked about Femara or letrozole versus Clomid. Letrozole is the generic name. My understanding was that we actually had already made the choice to go to letrozole. I just hadn't signed the consent forms for it. Clomid is a great option for most people, but there are two things that Clomid does that scare me or are what made it not the right choice for me. I was really concerned with multiples. I'm still very concerned with multiples. The way that Clomid stimulates your body to create the eggs and hopefully ovulation. I have eggs. Eggs is not my problem. It's just the ovulation portion. And the doctor was very concerned that all the overstimulation was just going to mean that like my likelihood of multiples would have gone up even more than the average person's. And we're praying, hoping, wishing for one baby. I could probably handle two babies, but I need to knock on wood, right? Okay. Anyway, so that was important. And then there was also a lot of side effects involved with Clomid, and I really hated the side effects of metformin. Not to say that they're going to be the same, but letrozole offering similar results and a much lower increased chance of multiples and much less intense side effects. For me, it was a no-brainer. I know other people have felt differently because letrozole was not created to be a fertility drug. They found out this as while they were figuring something else out, but that doesn't bother me. And it's more expensive, but my insurance covered my medication. So with insurance coverage, I spent, I think, $11 on letrozole. I got 30 tablets, 15 tablets. Maybe should have prepared for this beforehand. I got them in 2.5 milligram dosages, and I was to take 3 tablets every day, every evening. So I took 7.5 my first round, and that was it. We made our decision. The other thing that we had to decide was whether we were going to do timed intercourse or IUI. And to be honest with you, at the point that we're at right now, I could still technically change my mind, and it has crossed my mind several times. We made the decision to go with timed intercourse, and we landed on this decision because really the only thing that they can figure out that is wrong with me is ovulation. Our sperm analysis came back right. That's my dog. And basically all of their testing is coming back great. I just am not ovulating. So in my doctor's mind, IUI is a great option and something we may have to go to, but he wanted to see what it would look like if I just actually ovulated and what happened there, or like what would happen there. And the expense, I mean, let's be real, this is an expensive process. Fertility is hardly ever covered under insurance companies, and all of these things get incredibly expensive. I got my clinic offered me basically a sheet which had like a breakdown of like what it would cost to do an IUI versus what it would cost to do timed intercourse. And to be honest with you, that's the reason that I'm still waffling, because it's a $600 difference. And once we're at the point where we're spending over $1,000, what's 600 more? I mean, it is a lot of money. I want $600 more dollars. But if I'm already spending $1,000 to just do a timed intercourse cycle, $1,600 to do an IUI, even though it's like maybe like 1% more effective, I'm having a hard time like getting over that in my mind. I will say I am very fortunate. I have insurance, and my insurance actually does cover infertility. I have to pay 50%, so based on the negotiated rate, but it looks like I will be spending basically about $500 per cycle. And that $500 is a package that my clinic creates basically, so that rather than going piecemeal for every ultrasound, I could just have a package for the cycle. I get basically unlimited ultrasounds as part of that package. And what it does not include is the medication, obviously letrozole, or the HCG shot, the trigger shot, Ovidrel shot. So those two things would be additional. That is the plan. The plan is I was told to start Femara on cycle day 3. I don't get periods, so there was no like actually waiting for cycle day 3. My doctor that day was like, okay, today is cycle day 2. You're gonna start Femara tomorrow on cycle day 3. And then I took it for 5 days. I honestly had almost no side effects at all. I had a tiny bit of dizziness the second day that I took it, or like the first morning after. But also we went to IKEA that day, and I'm not convinced that it wasn't just the stress of being at IKEA, to be honest with you. I had really not much else, maybe like a tiny bit of bloating, but that's basically it. And almost no hormonal impacts. I really did not feel my moods change. I was anxious, but that's just my normal baseline self throughout all of this. And 5 days came and went. And then I am going in on cycle day 12 for a follicle scan, and I am so nervous because it doesn't feel like anything is happening, and that terrifies me. I mean, terrifies me in a way that I cannot even fully express. Like, I don't wish that we had done Clomid. I'm very happy with our choice, but I do sort of regret choosing the option with less side effects, because at least side effects tell me that something is working and it feels like it's working, versus now, I mean, are there follicles in there? I don't know. Is anything happening? I don't know. And that's terrifying. But trying to be trusting and trying to realize that anxiety and stress are bad for any potential follicles that are in there, or babies that they will grow into, hopefully. Oh man, this cycle. So we go in for a scan, and if the follicles are big enough, we'll do the HCD trigger that day, and then we'll have timed intercourse that night and the next day. And if not, then we go back a few days later to see if the follicles have grown. I am pretty terrified that there's nothing happening and there's going to be no follicles, and all of this will have been for naught, because my body hasn't really responded well to any medicine ever except Provera. Like, it actually did what it's supposed to do. So that's a very real fear. I hope that that's not the case. I have been deep diving and watching all of these Femara trigger shot. Reggie, I bet you we just got mail. He and the mail lady have a love-hate relationship. Okay. Anyway, I don't even remember what I was saying. So, once the follicle scan is over and the trigger shot happens, I, for some reason, had thought or read or watched that the trigger shot happens in your butt, like on your butt cheek. But no, it's definitely your stomach. And I was telling someone about this and they were like, are you sure that they're going to shoot your butt? And I could have sworn, but no, it's definitely your stomach. So once the trigger shot happens, we have timed intercourse, and that's at the basically like 12 hours later, and then within 36 hours, between the 36-hour mark from the trigger shot. And then I hope that if we get to trigger, I'd really like to see what it's like to test out the trigger. I haven't gotten a positive pregnancy test, and I know that that sort of like screws up your mind, messes with your mind. And so other people have chosen not to do it, but I'm just too curious, and I know that I would test too early and then wish that I had tested out the trigger to know, is this a trigger shot or is this a baby? So that is my plan. I will have a video on testing out the trigger should that happen. I will put up another video after the follicle scan and let you guys know how that goes. That's basically all the update I have. If this round doesn't work with timed intercourse, and like I said, I still am like a second away from pulling the trigger and just doing an IUI instead. But if this round doesn't work on timed intercourse, I think next round we would just go straight to IUI. Just because the fact that it's like in my hands makes me more nervous. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's everything I've got for you guys now. I know that's kind of like a lot of information in one video, but I just figured rather than do a Femara versus Clomid and then we did Femara and then this was my experience on Femara video, I would just consolidate into one. If you have any questions about my experience on letrozole or anything else, please let me know either in the comments below. Lots of you have been sweet and messaged me on Instagram and followed me there. Awesome. I love talking to you guys. And that's, I think, everything I've got. Baby dust, everyone. Bye.